Thanks for joining us on another episode of GVMERS. Today, we'll be taking a look at the beloved Knights of the Old Republic series of role-playing games from LucasArts. While the first two RPGs in the acclaimed franchise provided memorable, dynamic storylines for players to enjoy, LucasArts canned the third single-player release in favor of other projects. Since then, BioWare's massively multiplayer online spin-off, The Old Republic, seems to have eclipsed the Knights of the Old Republic games. But we at GVMERS will never forget. What would you like to see in a revival of the beloved series? A Knights of the Old Republic 3 would be a dream come true for any fan of the Star Wars universe, but only if it were done right. First, let's look at something the original games got right, and how we'd like to see a third game improve upon these aspects. Rich character development would be a must, though we would like to see more options for controlling the fate of your Jedi. A morality system where every seemingly minuscule action has grave consequences on the outcome of the story, and your relationships with the other characters would continue the spirit of the original games but allow for more player input on the narrative. Obsidian Entertainment's beloved sequel, The Sith Lords, even more so than the original game, lets players walk the fine line between the light side and the dark, with morally ambiguous decisions strewn throughout every encounter. We'd love to see more of an emphasis on this in a third game, maybe even allowing players to fight for different sides of the central conflict, depending on major story choices, as we've seen in series like the Witcher RPGs.
You've gone way too far. This ends now.
If that's the way it has to be, heck, come on!
BioWare has immense talent and experience in the area of diverse character choices, as evidenced by the wild success of the Mass Effect series of games. We'd hope a third Knights game would allow for players to customize their character, to the point of being able to play as different alien races and a wide variety of human factions and allegiances. With enough time and funding, Knights of the Old Republic 3 would be the ultimate realization of a fully interactive, character-driven experience.
Fine, keep the artifacts. Just give me back my ship.
Eyes front.
Just inspecting the troops, Corporal.
The Sith Lords was released over a decade ago, which is a lifetime in the rapidly advancing world of technology. We'd fully expect a third entry in the Knights series to take advantage of today's far more powerful graphics hardware to create an immersive, fully explorable world. While the other Knights games were fairly detailed for their time, many of the areas were on rails or had minimal opportunity for in-depth exploration. A third game released on today's consoles and computer hardware could fully realize the vision BioWare had for the series over 12 years ago, in gorgeous and stunning graphical detail. Picture fighting alongside your squad of Old Republic Jedi in a graphics engine similar to EA's latest Star Wars Battlefront game, taking control of vehicles and roaming open, explorable planets. The Star Wars universe would feel more alive than ever before.
Please, help us! We're infected with the rat ghoul disease. At any moment we could... No! This cannot be... No!
One area that the Knights games could be improved upon greatly is the combat system. While the first two entries in the series utilized a relatively slow, turn-based system to drive the action, we think the time is right for a real-time, third-person action approach to the combat. BioWare has shown its ability to pull this off perfectly in the Mass Effect games, and we'd love to see what they could do with fully interactive lightsaber and blaster combat in the Star Wars universe. Of course, we wouldn't want the original game's emphasis on battle tactics and carefully planned strategies to be left by the wayside. The ability to pause combat, adjust the tactical approach of team members, and micromanage equipment, buffs, and fighting styles would be a must for any game bearing the Knights of the Old Republic name. And while it's fun to be an all-powerful lightsaber-wielding Jedi, the gameplay would need to allow for creative use of blasters, vibroblades, explosives, and droid powers to overcome enemies, for those who want to use a more traditional approach to combat.
I was looking for a hyperdrive matrix processor assembly.
Video games are increasingly focusing on the multiplayer aspect of the gameplay, with a single-player campaign becoming more of an afterthought. While the idea of multiplayer Knights of the Old Republic is an interesting one, EA's The Old Republic MMO already has that arena covered. So any future Knights game should be focused primarily on the single-player content, though we wouldn't rule out the idea of a well-integrated cooperative mode or online battle arena. But above all, we'd like a Knights of the Old Republic 3 game to raise the stakes. Let's see what a talented developer like Obsidian Entertainment or BioWare could do to immerse players in an all-out galactic war, with the fate of the Old Republic and the balance of the Force riding on the choices the player makes. We know they have the talent to carry out this version based on their previous work on the franchise, and their other releases, so we'd love to see what the Knights of the Old Republic 3 could bring to the Star Wars universe. What would you like to see in a new Knights of the Old Republic game? Do you agree with our suggestions? Let us know in the comments. For more content and all things Star Wars, keep it locked to Gamers.